Short-term rentals aren't just about having a cute Airbnb. They're one of the most powerful tax strategies available to high-earning women, and they're a real hedge against inflation. That's why this episode matters. So many women tell me they are curious about short-term rentals, but they feel stuck. The rules seem complicated, the market feels saturated, and nobody wants another stressful side hustle. That's why I brought in Rachel Gainsbrugh. Rachel is the founder of Short Term Gems, a healthcare professional turned investor who's been featured on Netflix Buy My House, in Business Insider, and in top real estate circles for the way she turns ordinary rentals into luxury experiences that deliver cash flow, tax benefits, and long-term wealth. The result when you follow her model? More profit with fewer properties, confidence that your investments are going to work for you, and a powerful wealth strategy that keeps your money safe and growing for the long term. This is the Women Growing Wealth podcast, where I support women to make, invest, and keep more money the women's way. And if you're loving all of my content, please hit the subscribe button or leave me a review wherever you're listening to this podcast. Now, let's get into it. Welcome to the Women Growing Wealth podcast. This is going to be another incredible episode with a very special guest, Rachel Gainsbrugh, who's not only a dear friend, but also the founder of Short Term Gems and is up to some incredible things in the world where you're going to learn about tax strategies and how to build short-term rentals and maybe some stuff about AI as well. So before we get started, please hit subscribe. Please subscribe to my channel if you like this. I would really appreciate it. And if you're listening on the podcast, then welcome. And we're going to get right into it. Welcome, Rachel.
Hi, Tamar. Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here, and I'm so grateful for all of this good work that you're putting out there into this world.
Well, you and I have been on a journey together. We both started years ago in GoBundance together, and our trajectories have been just all about real estate and how to help women and how to grow a business. And you have such a great history and started out without money, just like me. And so I would love for you, let's get right into the meat of everything. Let's talk about the passion of Short Term Gems and what you're doing there.
So, Tamar, I was grinding it out at the W-2, working full time, 5 jobs between my husband and I, trying to pay off student loan debt. And we started to make some headway. And eventually we realized, oh my gosh, we're making a lot of money working these W-2s and picking up extra shifts. However, when we got smacked with one of the biggest tax bill I had ever seen in my life, I knew that something had to change. Something had to change. So I found myself slowly taking off my Dave Ramsey hat. Spoiler alert, I was a Dave Ramsey snowballer back in the day, and putting on my real estate hat. I started to listen to this little podcast called Bigger Pockets. And when I strategically identified a strategy that would not only save me on taxes, however, it would also align with my style, my brand, I realized short-term rentals, just one short-term rental would definitely be something worthwhile. So we initially launched that very first short-term rental. That was the moment I realized I can actually make money without punching a clock. Once we launched our second rental, all bets were off. I realized that I didn't need dozens of properties. I didn't need 100 doors. 2 properties exceeded one of our full-time W-2 take-home pay. And that's when I knew real estate wasn't just an investment. It was my whole exit strategy. And so all bets were off at that point.
I love that. I love that. There's so much to unpack there. I know that you had talked about having bills and student loans of over a half a
Yeah.
million dollars. And this is something that when we're talking about women growing wealth, especially
Mm,
the way the world is now, education is more expensive than ever. The dollar's not going as far as it used to. And it's not to say that we crumble. We look for solutions. And I love what you're talking about, how you found something that was aligned with you and started on this short-term journey. Now, a lot of women are still really hesitant about short-term rentals because they feel that it's risky. They don't know how to manage the tenants. They don't know how they're worried they won't get the rents. And so there's all these things that we can unpack here. I hope in this episode we'll demystify some of the fears around short-term rentals. Naturally, there's risks and there are things that we need to pivot around, but also to show not only the huge tax advantages, which we're going to get into, and also how do you manage to make this kind of money in a short-term rental. So let's start with you started making these short-term rentals. I'd love for you to talk about what those numbers look like. You said you were able to replace one of your incomes. Naturally, you were both professionals working in fields where you were making over six figures. How did these numbers work? Just so people can get an idea of what it could look like.
Yeah, absolutely. So I still remember the very first investment. We named her the Linux Star. That very first investment, we cobbled together our savings, some bonus checks, a little bit of 401k. We even borrowed from that, right? This is not financial advice, but I'm just letting you know how I did it. And we were able to come up with that down payment. The beauty of real estate investing, you don't come out there unless you're a Dave Ramsey and pay full price or cash for the entire property. We're using leverage. So we found a little credit union locally in town. We paid 5% down on a $290,000 investment property. Okay. And with that 5% down, we still had some money left over to update the place a little bit. So a little lipstick, meaning little removal of carpet, a little bit of flooring. It did need a roof, but back in the day, that was an $8,000 investment, which felt daunting. It was like $8,000 all in one place. But man, I would love for those numbers to work out the same today with a roof replacement. Threw on some paint. That very first property, we furnished the whole thing off of Facebook Marketplace, believe it or not. Okay. When we got that first ding in the middle of the night, it was about 3 a.m. when we got that first booking. Within 30 days of purchasing the property, I gotta tell you, it reminded me of Warren Buffett's statement when he said, if you can't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. And at that point, we were working 14 plus hour shifts a day. I mean, mind blowing. Okay, so for that property, we were averaging around $6,000 a month gross. So that's the top number. That's how much was coming in. So subtract our expenses, our mortgage was $1,500 per month. Okay, our utilities and other expenses were around $500 to $700 a month. So it kind of varied. So that first property was cash flowing just about $4,000 a month, which is amazing. And so we decided, you know what? Let's do it again. Now, the second property, huge plot twist. We were getting ready to rinse and repeat. The second property was within 2 miles of the first property. Why not, right? We figured out a process, a workflow. We have our cleaning team. We have our maintenance people. So we now have a small but mighty system. My husband and I, between the two of us, we were managing the little guest communication. We had a few things automated to start off. So there are 5 messages that guests need to know every single time, like what time is check-in, here's your code, what time is checkout, here's some of the checkout instructions, just leave your stuff there, we'll take care of it, turn off the AC if you can. So those things are pretty standard. most of the messages can be automated. You have a few here and there where guests may be a little bit more needy. They need a little bit more support. So my husband and I, these two properties, we just ping pong back and forth. We both have access to the app and we're able to respond to those guest requests. As we're getting ready to place the property, and really position it as a short-term rental, we got an inquiry from an insurance company. Yeah. So what that means,
Say
right? So
more.
let me tell you more. So what that means is instead of 2 night stays, 3 night stays, that very first guest stayed in our property for 13 months. And we still got paid our short-term rental rates for those 13 months. Essentially, this is a family who was displaced from their home due to a fire. Their home had caught on fire. Initially, they booked our property for 1 month, and what I learned quickly is 1 month is not enough to repair a home that was impacted by fire damage. Right? It's gonna take months and months, and what I've learned since then is if a family is coming to your home and they were displaced due to water damage, that's about a 4 to 6 months stay. If it's fire damage, it's gonna be 9 months or higher. So that opened a whole new world for me that I didn't realize was out there had I not put myself in a position to welcome others into our home. And so now we're doing a mix. We have a hybrid portfolio. We first launch our properties as a short-term rental in order to take advantage of the tax benefits associated with bonus depreciation, cost segregation studies, et cetera, et cetera, now that we're at the 100%. And once the calendar year is over, we flip it, pivot to a midterm rental, which provides us more of that stability with still a really great monthly revenue that's coming in.
I love that. Okay, so there's so many things to unpack here, but the first thing I'm going to do is I'll shed a little bit of light with our listeners about what some of the things that Rachel said. So one of the huge things that I heard has to do with the strategy behind a short-term rental, which is that it's not just a way to cash flow, a way out of not working. There is a tax advantaged opportunity
Yes.
where if you are managing that short-term rental for 7 days or less for the year, what will happen is that you can take what's called a cost segregation study, which means that you hire a group that specializes in these type of studies, and they will evaluate your roof will last for this long, your driveway will last for this long, and they do a study and you are allowed to take that deduction. And then also what Rachel pointed out, which she's very excited about, and I am too, because it's been very good for me, is that we had what was called bonus depreciation, which meant you could take all that deduction almost 100%. Well, it is 100% right now up front. And what that enables you to do is really get big deductions on your taxes because all of the credits on the cost segregation through an Airbnb short-term rental allows you to deduct both passive and active income, meaning that your W-2 can now be offset by that short-term rental, which is huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why, those 2 properties tomorrow were able to offset my W-2s, and that's why I'm teaching doctors, fewer doors, higher profit. You don't need 100 properties. You need 2, 2 each that are making about 6 figures a year, and those deals are out there.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. We're gonna get into all of, like, how do you find the properties as well, and I just wanna touch on first, also your approach to finding the loan, to solving these problems that women let get in their way, and they tell themselves it's too challenging, I can't get the loan, I can't do this. I have a lot of clients where they will actually take more income on their W-2 because they feel like they won't qualify for a loan, but there are so many loans out there, DSCR loans and loans with small banks, there's seller financing, there's subject to, there's all kinds of ways in which we are able to negotiate. And what I loved was that you went locally in your area in Georgia, you're in a suburb of Atlanta, you found a bank for 5%. And I think what's really important is for everyone to remember is that not all lenders are the same, just like a lot of our listeners are successful businesswomen and executives, and they are navigating problems all day long. But then when it comes to the real estate, they're thinking, oh my gosh, it's just going to be, so hard. But it really is problem solving. And the other thing that you do so beautifully, I love the way that when we think about Airbnb and short-term rental, the world of concierge, the world of
Yes.
just as women, how we love to take care of things. We love to make things nice for others. And that's really all you're doing is supporting people to stay at your place for a while. And it's a wonderful opportunity to make money and also be serving. So I wanted to point that out. And so good. And now,
Could I jump in there? Because
please.
what I thought was gonna be the biggest challenge inside of our community is we have a community of medical professionals. I primarily serve, women who are in medicine. How really intrigued they are with the guest care because it's in full alignment with patient care. So there's so many parallels there, right? That bedside manner translates into hospitality, right? Unreasonable hospitality. It's a beautiful thing. I remember Dr. Dada in our community, she goes, I wonder if they're gonna see the new popcorn machine that we placed in there. And I'm looking at her with the side eye, like, Dr. Dada, weren't you the one who said, oh, this is gonna be too hard, I can't do it. Now you're obsessing if they saw the little new popcorn machine that you placed in the property. And so every month, I believe every month you wait to invest in real estate, every month that you wait to learn about these vehicles is more money lost to taxes because everything is figure outable. And the house just improved these amazing bonus depreciation. This is an opportunity that I hope will last forever, but who knows? So I really encourage everyone, do not wait another month to invest in these vehicles that can support you long term.
I love this. Let's talk about if you're just starting out and you've been on the fence with the Airbnb, but you're gonna be writing a check for a few $100,000 in taxes, ouch, and, which is a blessed problem to have, but even if it's not a few hundred, even if it's 50,000, even if it's 10,000, it's still a lot, and that's money that could be put toward an asset that could be building you wealth, saving you on taxes, giving you more back of your money.
Mhm.
And the big question is, of course, is where do I buy? How do I start? So how do you speak to that?
Okay, so I love this question, and you're right. That's money, Tamar, that could be saved for caring for your parents. A lot of my community are caregivers. That's money that could be saved for your children's education. Like I'm on a mission to move millions of money from the IRS back into the pockets of those who have worked so hard to earn it so that we can sustain our communities, our family, because at the end of the day, the IRS and the tax code was built for business owners, was built for investors, and it is out here penalizing the W-2 workers that are fighting for their lives. So here's how you get started. If you have no idea where to invest in, I want you to think about my acronym called CROW. That is the CROW methodology. First and foremost, if possible, think about a property that C you're connected to. So it could be investing in your own backyard. It could be a location that you have visited in the past. Okay. If it could be a location that you visited for work, right? So think about some areas that you've looked around. You're like, wow, I didn't realize this was here. So jot all of those down. Do not edit yourself. And next, let's go to R. R is recommended. So, are there locations that are recommended by professionals that are in the field? I even got a recommendation from the title company guy who's like, "Oh, hey, I saw someone investing over here, in a particular location." I got deals from my cleaners who informed me, "Hey, I've been cleaning this Airbnb in a really nice part of town. They told me this was my last clean. They're thinking of selling the property." I said, give them my number, okay? So those who are boots on the ground, who are actually doing the work, your realtors, your lenders, the cleaners, property managers. So recommendations from those professionals that are actually doing the thing. Get your, jog your memory and think about, hey, they mentioned this city or this location. And then we head on to markets that are on trend. That's when we look at those big articles. These are the top cities with the highest revenue for Airbnb. Even U-Haul publishes a midterm rental moving market. Like, here's the migration patterns, the top 10 cities people are moving to, published by U-Haul out of all people. And W is word of mouth. I love hearing what other mastermind members are doing in terms of their investing strategies, where they're investing, where they are looking. And so we create a whole big old list of all of those, and you may come out with a list of 20 or so, and then we do some light preliminary math, okay? Two numbers that are also very important for me to even have an interest or be intrigued about a specific market. I place them on a list and then I create two columns and I call it my 15-50 rule. 15% gross ROI potential, 50% occupancy rate. On a tool called AirDNA or a free tool called Rabu, RABBU, you can identify what is the estimated occupancy rate for a market. And my threshold for that market is 50% or higher. If there's a 50% or higher occupancy rate, it indicates to me, okay, we have travelers, tourism coming to the area. Okay. Although our properties are anywhere from 65% to 95% occupied, depending on the property type, the booking type, 50% is just a threshold to let me know and inform me that, oh, this is a market that people are coming to. If it's in the 30%, you're going to be fighting for your life. It's going to be terrible trying to host in that market. I have seen it time and time again. I've had clients come to me letting me know, hey, I need your help. Help me to resuscitate this property. And I'm like, this property is dead on arrival, 30% occupancy rate. The only new construction is a Tractor Supply. Tell me we're not rural without telling me. So no, do not go into a market with a less than 50% occupancy rate. That information is available for free on AirDNA and Data Rebel. Now let's look at the 15% gross ROI. Essentially, I'll use a tool again like AirDNA and Data Rebel. I want to know my revenue potential divided by the purchase price of the property. Okay. So if my revenue potential is $100,000 a year and I divide that by my property purchase price, and let's say it's $500,000, that's a 20% gross ROI. That one prevails and I get a little check mark there. And then I head on to the next, to the next, to the next. By the time I have those 20 different markets, I'm down to maybe 3 or 4 based off of just those 2 metrics. So that's how we get started. It's as
That's
simple as
great.
that.
I love that. So you're essentially saying that if you look at a property and it says that it has a 50% occupancy and it can make $100,000 in revenue a year, then you look at the price. Is that what you said? You said you look at the price of the
Mhm,
property, and
mhm.
if you can make at least 500, I mean, how did tell me the last part
Sure.
because I wanna make
Yeah,
sure that everyone understands, and I
absolutely.
clearly didn't hear.
No, no, it's
I mean,
okay.
I know
It
how to
applies.
analyze, but I wanna hear how you do it.
Sure, sure. It's just a ratio. So I'm looking for a 15% or higher ratio for the gross ROI. I'll take the revenue potential. Okay. If it has the potential to make $100,000 a year and say the purchase price, we're buying the house for $500,000. So that's 20%, right? So that prevails. It passes my test of 15%. 15% is the lowest. Yeah. So that's a market as a whole. And
Okay, great.
now, yeah, so that's just generally speaking. So that's the first step. But now, when we get granular down to the property level, the parcel level, the next step is I have another framework for ours. I'm just going to specifically speak to one. Otherwise, we'll be here for hours. One is regulations. Then we look at the regulations, and that occurs at the parcel level.
Very important, and
Yes.
when Rachel talks about regulation, she's talking about, is there an HOA? Is the city coming down and charging? I have, a portfolio of properties in a suburb of Austin, and the
Yes.
city decided they were gonna charge a tax, a 7% tax, so I had to address that. The other thing you wanna look at when you're looking at property evaluation is when you do your expenses, this goes for short term, long term, anything really that you're investing in, anticipate that it may cost you a little more than what you think. Because if your margins are so tight and you have no room to compensate for things like the roof going bad or electric bills. I mean, even in the summer in Texas, whereas it might be 200 a month, it could be 350 a month for me on several of the properties. So all of these things need to be taken into consideration when you're doing your evaluations. And I love these baselines that you've given because they're great metrics. And I think, I like to throw it against every metric. I'll probably start using Rachel's as well. These are really, really important. And the other thing to remember too is that based on what you're hearing is that doing research on properties is not impossible or so difficult that you can't do it yourself. You're really just doing research. And I love your C because when you look at your C and you look at where you're at locally, or maybe where you grew up in, or where your
Yeah.
friends are, you can really start to find areas that might be a good place to do these purchases. So I
And
love
can
this.
I jump in real quick on that? It's
Please.
it's so interesting, Tamara. You're absolutely right because when people reach out to me, they say, "Rachel, where should I invest?" And I have not walked a mile in your shoes. You wouldn't believe the obscure little markets that we identified that I would have never known about. I would have never heard about, like Dr. Ryan's and Hasina. They ended up investing in a coastal Michigan area where there's sand dunes, and he used to ride the thing to where you should say, if you're watching the video, guys, I'm fighting for my life. Just like ride the little thing on the sand dunes. And he grew up there. I didn't do that growing up. I would not have known about it. And we worked on the crow method. We identified, hey, instead of trying to follow these trends, someone told them to go to Ohio, go here and there. I was like, but what about somewhere you're connected to? He goes, oh yeah, my family, we really loved this area when we were growing up. We ran the numbers, Tamar. They purchased a property for 410,000. That property is making 115,000 a year.
Boom. Wow. Amazing.
Never heard of the market. Coastal Michigan, somewhere, I'm not even gonna divulge, but that's why I think it's so important. Let's start off with somewhere you're connected to. You just wouldn't believe how many people that I know. They say, "Oh, my granny, she has a property that was," like, I'm an immigrant. Like, my granny does not have any properties here in the US or anywhere, right? There's so many people who are so blessed that they have assets. They have inheritances. They have properties that are sitting there. They're sitting on a mountain of gold, unaware of the full potential. So that's why it's so important. I'm so glad you brought the C back in because oftentimes folks are ignoring properties they may have in their own back pocket.
Yeah, and that's super important. And the other thing is that it's comforting. It's comforting to understand that there are options that are more familiar to us because let's face it, I mean, we're talking about how possible it is and how you can save on taxes and all the great things. And there are challenges. And
Yes.
we can't say that every property you're going to purchase or be involved with is going to be smooth sailings. Yes, there are bad guests sometimes. Yes, there are things
Yeah.
that somebody buys a property and didn't do the research properly and ends up with a 30% vacancy, which you can only do so much unless you kind of create a city around it, which might be a lot of work. These are the things that we want to make sure we're putting the pieces in place so that we can mitigate the risk. We want to mitigate risk, and that's what we're looking for. If we go through the process and we mitigate as many risks as we can generally look for an outcome that we can navigate if it's not already just smooth sailing. So that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, I also want to talk about I think we've gone into this whole world of the short-term rentals, and I love the fact that you took it upon yourself to create luxury rentals that really weren't luxury purchase prices. So you
Nope.
weren't buying $5 million homes and renting
Mm-mm.
them out. Talk about that because that was a very specific concept that you had that you've been sharing with so many others successfully.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked because modern luxury is significantly different from our grandmother's luxury tomorrow. We're going to date ourselves, but if we can rewind a little bit to lifestyle of the rich and famous, where you have the gold-plated doorknobs, the gold-plated toilets, our travelers, they don't care about any of that. As a matter of fact, our current luxury travelers, they're a little bit more minimalistic. That is more in alignment with the tone that they're looking for in terms of design. So modern luxury is vastly different than traditional luxury as it relates to travelers. The Gen Xers, the Gen Zers, they're looking for experience. Okay. So when we think about modern luxury, let's think about three C's. Okay. Connection, our travelers are looking for travel where they can create connection with those that are traveling in their party, those that are the community that they're visiting. They want to be connected. They're looking for connection. So the way you're creating your spaces, remember the outdoor is a whole living space as well. I know you know Miss Pickleball courts,
Yeah.
right? Right? So you create connections on that pickleball court. So the modern luxury traveler is looking for spaces where they can facilitate more connection. That's C number 1. C number 2 is communication. Okay, when it comes to modern luxury, the way we're communicating with our guests is oh so very important. It tells the story of what they're going to experience in the space. And it doesn't necessarily mean we're talking about verbal and nonverbal communication. Yes, our communication processes, the guest flow, the concierge team, all of that is important. However, how is the property listed? What are we telling them with the way we're listing the property? Is it this rule, that rule, you can't do this, you can't do that? Or is it a little bit more of a narrative? Okay. In the world of AI, we can create a little bit more of a storytelling narrative of exactly what they're going to experience, starting from the title of the listing description, and even the photo captions. My photo captions do not say living room, bedroom, bathroom. No, no, no. The bedroom photo caption says, lounge on the king size bed as the royalty that you are and experience the 65-inch LED TV. You know, you have them imagine themselves. And the back porches say, back porch. Rather, it says, after a long day of work, stretch out on the back porch and have the beverage of your choice. You know, you want to zhuzh it up. And that's what I mean by communication. And the most important of all, I really believe it's convenience. The modern luxury traveler, they're looking for convenience. From the moment they're checking into the property, that door lock, if it does not let them in immediately with the code that you provided, let me tell you, you are in for a tough stay because now their first impression is like, oh my gosh, did I just get scammed? Oh my gosh, I can't get into the property. And they're fumbling around. That just does not set the tone the right way. Mistakes do happen, but that shouldn't be the norm, that they're fighting for their life to get into a property that they have paid for, and they pay dearly when they're coming to our properties. And so let's talk numbers for a moment. Our parameters for our purchase price is anywhere from $350,000 to $850,000 purchase price. That is our sweet spot. That is where we see we're making the most amount of money. Anything above that is just not penciling out for us. Anything below that, we don't really get the best tax benefits. And just the avatar that we're attracting is not typically those that are willing to pay for our properties. And so understanding your avatar is very important. We've created avatar AI bots to really identify who is coming to a specific market, and really profiling, like what are their interests, what's their salary, what are they willing to pay, and for what. Do they want a pool or could they care less? Do they want a ramp? Because if they're a multi-generational family and they have granny who has mobility limitations. So when you think of amenities, it's not just pickleball, it's accessibility. is an amenity as well, and a lot of people forget that. We have very diverse families out there, and there may be children with special needs. There may be mobility limitations, and if you understand that, and if you have cornered the market, in that particular community based on the age, based on identifying the demographic, you're the top pick for those families.
I love that. So you're looking at homes between 350 and
Yeah,
850.
yeah.
And let's talk about bedrooms and bathrooms because this is part of when we talk about convenience. I know I have one property that is a 6'4", 6 private bedrooms and 4 bathrooms. And guests love it because there are a lot of bathrooms and they can get a lot of privacy in the bedrooms. I'm not shoving 8 bunk beds into one bedroom, which is also a style. I mean, it's a fun way to be together, but I'm more of the type that would want to go on a holiday and have my own bedroom. So that's how I've set it up. Let's talk about what your theory is on that.
Yeah, so that's a really great question. If I could reverse engineer that for a moment, we determine our guest count, our maximum guest count based off of the number of bathrooms. Okay. So let's put it this way. If it's a 3 bathroom, our max guest count is going to be either a 9 or 12, depending on the
Okay.
size of the property, because we have a 3 to 4 person per bathroom ratio. Okay. So, for instance, if I am going to equip the property for 12 individuals, we're going to then create vanity areas in the bedroom, additional vanities, double vanities in the bedroom, just so that we have some areas for prep and so on and so forth. So, it really depends on the square footage. Now, it's a 4 bedroom, 2.5 bath, and it's a 1,200 square foot property. Most likely not. However, you have some properties that were built in such a way that they're very, very spacious. There's a lot of room. And if we can add more guests to that particular booking, as far as our max guest count, then we'll add vanities in some of the bedroom areas to accommodate for some of that prep. Because you got to think about it, right? When it comes to taking a shower and prepping, and everyone's trying to head to this wedding, if it's a bachelorette, so that kind of thing. Yeah, it really depends on the avatar. If the property is I would say set up for multi-generational families, like one of our beach properties, it's 5 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms. One of the bedrooms is a bunk room, right? So we want to be very mindful that this avatar is families. Let's say it's 4 adult siblings traveling or 3 adult siblings traveling with grandma and grandpa. So we want everyone to have their own room. We recognize that they're probably all splitting the bill, so everyone has a banger of a bathroom in the room, and then we have the general gen pop bathroom, kind of dorm style for the bunk room as well. So all the kiddos, they have a room. One of the bedrooms have a bunk for those who have the littles who probably do not want to sleep in the main bunk with the rowdy rest of the preteens and the teenagers. So it's really being mindful, like you said, you want your own room, being mindful of who it is you're catering to and leaning all the way into that particular avatar.
Yeah, I love that. And in terms of purchase price, one thing I want to say that is one of the key concepts that I have pretty much stuck to on any property that I've ever purchased, which is that we make our purchase based on it being a good deal when we buy. We don't buy thinking, okay, I'm going to buy it for this. I'm going to put this much into it and I'm going to make this much money. It really needs to be a deal when we go in. And I'm also wondering, do you recommend doing I guess it would depend on if there was room in the budget. Like if I got a house for 350 and I put 150 in, then I add a bedroom and a bathroom and all kinds of things that I can jump up the value of the property and the short-term rental value. The other cool thing about that is that it's also an opportunity for me to deduct that 150 because it's part of the short-term rental. So how are you as far as rehabs? Because I'm sure that you're dealing with a lot of really busy people and some of them may not wanna do that.
Yeah, I mean, this is all I do. This is my full-time job. So, I have a lot of amazing contractors and vendors that we've partnered with that will go out and give them an out of the box amazing renovation and they will do all the work for them. So the day and age where you have to, grab a hammer and start nailing things, that day is gone, right? There's so many super, super talented contractors out there, and we've partnered with quite a few that are wonderful. They fly out to Florida, to Texas, wherever we need them, the Poconos, right? Where it's kind of difficult to get to that area, and they will give us a beautiful project from inside the house to the exterior. They've built pickleball courts for us. They've built swimming pools. They've refinished swimming pools, created a whole outdoor putt. So if it warrants it, because we don't want to overbuild. However, if there's an opportunity in a particular market where we have proof of concept that this is a market that has the ability to make $170,000 and $180,000 a year, and we want to be a contender, yeah, it's an opportunity to go in and give it a go. I will warn against markets like Orlando where you have 37,000 properties and they're all Mac Daddy properties. You have to have a lot of emotional fortitude for something like that. It's
It can be super popular in places, but if everybody has the same idea, then it's not really the best idea anymore because it's just saturated and it makes competition a lot more challenging for sure. I love all of this. Now, I also wanted to know to help our listeners, tell me if there's anything that you really want to share to the women listeners that are doing so well in the world, that are growing their wealth and really just want to make sure that they're maximizing their opportunities.
I want to emphasize again that everything is figure outable and you can leverage short term rentals with a small but mighty team and a whole lot of AI. And here's what I mean by that. Here are the team members you need for your short term rental property: a cleaner, a really good cleaner, a maintenance handyman, right? Those are the two team members that you need. And believe it or not, your cleaner doubles as a task rabbit. They're really, really helpful. They alert you if something's going on. They've got really good relationship with the maintenance. They'll take photos, send them your way, and then let the maintenance know, hey, could you come to the property and have a look at something, And that is how our busy, burnt out doctors are able to manage a property. They're in surgery, right? They're managing the property because the cleaner is taking ownership. So building a good relationship with your cleaner is next level. Tech tools, technology. Can we talk about technology? Shout out
Let's I know we haven't even
technology.
talked about technology, and you are an AI queen.
Yes, absolutely. However, simple technology tools, we've Instacarted a hair dryer to a guest before. In this day and age, right, you've got tools like Instacart. If something's missing, a set of towels are missing, you can Instacart that if you need to. The cleaner can Instacart that. What a time to be alive. It is I believe this is one of the best times to lean into the two-door strategy. You get one short-term rental, you take advantage of your tax benefits, you pivot it into a midterm rental, you do it again. Like this is some of the best time. So, all right, we've got our technology team. Well, what about the guest communication, the concierge? Well, there's AI tools out there. We have a bot that communicates with our guests. It has been trained on humanistic language. It's been trained on 5 years of conversations that we have had with our guests, and it responds just like us. There is a flag, full transparency that, hey, this is Dr. Rachel's AI bot twin. I'm here to support you while she is away. She's helping patients. She's doing this and that and the other. They still believe that it's me or my clients, so much so that a guest was locked out of the property accidentally. They left the key inside, and unfortunately, it was at 2 in the morning. But fortunately, the AI bot had been trained on the backup plan in case of extenuating circumstances. So it walked the guests to the backyard where the master lock with the backup key, et cetera, et cetera. The guest got into the property and said, I'm so sorry for keeping you up so late at night. I'm in the property. Thank you. My client wakes up in the morning and she sees a full conversation with the AI bot and the guest. So, breaking news, surprise, surprise, guys, what a time to be alive. If you're not getting onto these trends, if you're thinking, okay, you have to manage it all, help is on the way. Okay. So that's where we're going with your team. So again, your team is a cleaner, a maintenance person, and a communications person who is now your AI bot BFF. As far as technology, all you need is a doorbell lock, right? A door lock that is keyless. All you need is a door camera, and all you need is a noise level meter. That's it. That's all you need in terms of technology for home automation. And outside of that, we do the vast majority of the work on Airbnb. We'll add like a little property management tool for $10 a month to help like keep all the communications in one chat. And from there, we'll add like a pricing tool that uses AI to automatically price the property per month. Everything is figure outable. Everything
Yeah.
is figure outable. You don't need a big property management outfit. As a matter of fact, I feel like I give so much care. I care more. Nobody cares more. I don't know, Tamara, if you agree with me or not. Nobody cares more about my money than me.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, that's the whole reason why Women Growing Wealth exists is because I do believe that no one cares more, but yet we're so quick to trust other people and give it away without fully understanding what we're doing, which is
Yes.
part of the reason why I love the Airbnb model. At least if there's a mistake, I know what it is and it's my money in a deal. Yeah. Very good. And also I just want to add too that if the all the AI technology sounds a little bit ahead of what you have time to take on right now, there are tools like Hospitable where you can just put messages in and it'll automate for you. So there's easier ways before you master the AI, which isn't terribly difficult, but it does everything takes time. So I know that everybody listening is thinking, "Oh, that's going to take time. That's going to take time." So that's why Rachel and I are really trying to dial it down. We're trying to show you that you can manage these properties and get these tax advantages and the opportunities involved in short-term rental without making it a full-time job.
I couldn't agree with you more. Hospitable is a powerful tool for sure. Guesty has some AI in there. So they're all getting hip to it. They recognize that we're time-starved individuals. So it's really important, that we're able to use these tools and resources to help us to ultimately do the things that we love, right? We want to hang out with one another, communicate, network, collaborate, mastermind, spend time with family. If we can get some of that admin stuff off of our plate, some of those repeated tasks removed from our lives, I think that's how we live the wealthiest and the healthiest life possible for sure.
I love it. I love it so much. So, Rachel, if listeners want to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to do so?
Yeah, I have a free gift if you want to go to 75gems.com. That's 75gems.com. Go ahead and grab my top 75 cities with the highest profitability for short-term rentals. And from there, I'll link you to all the places where I hang out as well.
I love that. So good. And thank you so much for being on Women Growing Wealth. If you loved this episode, please like, subscribe, leave a review so that other women can learn to grow their wealth with all the strategies and all the guests and all the concepts that I share every week. And thank you for being here. Thank you, Rachel, for your time. I know how busy you are.
Thank you so much for having me, Tamara. This was so much fun. Appreciate you.